I beat Risk of Rain on Monsoon difficulty with all the artifacts enabled. For the sake of morality, I must highly discourage you from attempting this yourself. But if you do choose to try it, here's how. Breaking down the challenge. There are 16 artifacts in the base game, and none are added in the DLC. They are as follows: Chaos, Command, Death, Dissonance, Enigma, Evolution, Frailty, Glass, Honor, Kin, Metamorphosis, Sacrifice, Soul, Spite, Swarms, and Vengeance. These modifiers are intended to make the game more complex, and most of them make the game more difficult in some way. So what if we turn all of them on? Let's start a normal game of Risk of Rain and throw in the most notable artifacts. You kill monsters to get money, to open chests to get random items. Add Sacrifice. Monsters drop the items directly. Add Command. You now choose your items. Add Kin. All monsters are clones. Glass. You now deal 5 times damage, but you have 1/10 of your normal health bar. Spite and Soul. Monsters now spawn wisps and bombs when they die. Honor and Evolution. Now all the monsters are shiny, scary elites, and they're armed. Great. Swarms. Double the danger, half the health, and add on some more rewards. Chaos. They might shoot each other, your turrets might shoot you. Great. Vengeance. Your clone wants to kill you. It gets your items, and it gets the monster's items. Oh, by the way, there's 2 of them, too. Final nail in the coffin, Metamorphosis. You're forced to play as a random character every stage. The artifacts interact in complex ways. For example, the wisps that spawn as a result of Soul are normally just a nuisance, but with Glass enabled, they're capable of one-shotting you on stage 1. Because they're already fragile, Swarms doubles their numbers while having very little impact on their already marginal health bar. You might normally solve this by selecting area of effect items with commands like Will-o'-the-Wisp or Gasoline to clean them all up when you kill one. But Chaos ensures that this approach is just as deadly to you as it is to them. This creates a complex web of interactions that is best learned through trial and, more to the point, error. The process. On stage 1, you're going to die repeatedly until you see a combination of survivor, monster, and monster item that feels comfy to you. When I see Rex, Engineer, or these monsters on stage 1, there's a decent chance that I'll immediately commit Toaster Bath. Characters with mobility and lock-on attacks are great. Mobility is the core of your survival, and the less you have to focus on aiming, the more you can focus on running around in tight panic circles. Artificer is S tier against melee units specifically, because they literally cannot damage her. All that you need to focus on is managing the wisps that spawn when they die, and you're golden. Captain is similar with ranged units, but he feels decent versus melee units as well. As for monsters, beetles are the best possible option. They're slow, melee, simple, and they drop a disproportionately high amount of loot due to the way that Swarms interacts with Sacrifice. Jellyfish are similarly simple to fight, but without lateral mobility of some kind, you're a goner. Mini mushrooms have exactly one way of damaging you, and it's very slow and telegraphed. On the other hand, alpha constructs, blind pests, and lesser wisps are all ridiculously difficult and miserable to play against. You'll hang out on the first stage, hit the nude altar, farm for about 10 minutes, and then kill yourself. for about 10 minutes and then kill your other self, the clone. Clear the teleporter and then move on. Normally when you play Risk of Rain, you want to rush the teleporter because you'll earn better items later on and the difficulty is climbing. You're not going to do that this time. You have no idea what enemies you'll be fighting later or even what body you'll be inhabiting at the time. You need to pick up the foundations of success now when it's possible. Because of Kin, the boss fight will be a mob of identical riffraff, so adding a shrine to mountain doesn't really change much and we're going to need the extra loot. The first two items you're going to pick up are Topaz Brooch and Oddly Shaped Opal. You're going to pick up only one of each. Topaz Brooch will effectively offer you an additional health bar's worth of shielding every single time that you take down a monster, of which there are plenty. Because your health bar is so small to begin with, picking up more is pointless. Oddly Shaped Opal cuts the first hit that you take in half and recharges after 7 seconds of not being hit. This is good because with glass on, if you're getting hit more than once, you're dead anyways. After this, you're going to pick up Legs and Soda. Your best defense is to simply not be in the spot where your enemies are shooting. The green items you find are regenerating scrap. The wiki is a good resource for locating the Newt altars initially, but you'll know the ones on stage 1 by heart sooner rather than later. The first day I tried this, I played for 7 hours straight and I made it to stage 2 3 times. In Newt's realm, we're going to spend all of the lunar coins. Don't sweat, there's a way to hack these into the game to give yourself more. We're going to buy all of the blue things. We'll turn exactly one of them into Strides of Heresy, and all the others into Transcendence. This is your universal panic button. It will give you some mobility and a breath of safety regardless of the character the game force feeds you next stage. Transcendence sacrifices our healing, but we're just trying to survive enough hits to get out of trouble. Since Transcendence offers us more max health and the shields regenerate when we spend 7 seconds not being hit, it's perfect for our purposes.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't.
It also reduces all fall damage we take to 1, because math, which entirely nullifies frailty. We're then going to dream of a second stage that's comfortable to you. If you are 1 or 2 scrap away from a multiple of 5, it's usually a good idea to sacrifice some gray items. Your first red is Ceremonial Dagger. Your second and third are Hardlight Afterburner and Brain Stocks, but the order is interchangeable. Your fourth item is Dio's Best Friend for insurance. Ceremonial Dagger is critical because it allows us to kill things without shooting them, allowing us to focus much more on survival. This is our pseudo area of effect. Because it doesn't apply damage in an area, it won't hit you, but it will easily clear out groups of enemies. This will absolutely carry you through stage 2 and the rest of the game. You likely won't be able to put this together until after stage 2, but here's the sauce. Strides of Heresy normally has a 6-second cooldown. Because Honor makes all enemies elite, Brain Stocks reduces our cooldowns to half a second anytime we kill anything, even with Ceremonial Dagger. Our clones don't get to use Brain Stocks because we are their only enemy. Afterburner gives our 3 seconds invulnerability 3 charges for a total of 9 seconds, which is enough for Transcendence and Oddly Shaped Opal to regenerate. This means that we recover 9 seconds of invulnerability in 1.5 seconds after killing an enemy, and our clone has to wait 18 seconds regardless. This build is a scaling build. You'll be harder to kill the more items you pick up, but you will never be invincible. The nature of using all the artifacts simultaneously is that there will be unexpected events that simply kill you. Take, for example, the first run that I escaped stage 3. Without thinking about the consequences, I picked up a Tentabauble and a Singularity Band from the Void Seeds. I got into a scrap with my clones, and after killing them once, they managed to activate both items on me to lock me in place and kill me twice.
No off-topic questions. Because I don't want to. No, permission denied. That's an off-topic questions next. You have been stopped.
A second demonstration. We're in an optimistic run. We have lots of items and the momentum is building in our favor. We're occupying the engineer on stage 3, walking to the portal. All the enemies on the stage have been dead for minutes. There are no threats in sight. Then suddenly, immediately, and without warning, I'm dead. The death recap says I killed myself. How? 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 Who knows? It doesn't matter. The run's scrapped now. Even when you do everything perfectly, the unstable nature of this challenge is such that your survival is never guaranteed, no matter how many items you have. Here's a guideline for what to pick up. If it's not on this table, it's probably fine. In this run, I got lucky on stage 2. The game broke and literally no enemies spawned. This occurs, rarely, with kin and dissonance enabled simultaneously. No danger, no loot. Just hit the teleporter and keep going. I picked up a meat hook and Dio Bear on the stage 2 bazaar. You'll notice I don't have an afterburner yet, which should demonstrate to you that this build is ultimately a suggestion. You may find that you favor different items, characters, or enemies than I do. Either way, it should work out alright. I'm just leading you through what I think worked best for me in general. On stage 3, we get a beautiful example of why Dio's best friend is critical to this challenge. It's tough to get a run off the ground. Very few of your attempts will actually make it out of stage 2, and being able to revive is crucial to preserving the runs that are gaining momentum. In this case, after starting the teleporter, I'm kiting away from a mob of beetles, and 2 individual somethings damage me nearly simultaneously from outside my field of view. Without the bear, the run would be dead. Glowing meteorite is a very dangerous equipment, but I found lots of success with it. The monster AI doesn't care about the death circles on the ground whatsoever, so as long as you're fast enough to play the don't stand in the circles game with any amount of effectiveness, you're bound to end up better off than them by the time the storm clears out. This helped me clear out my clones on this stage without ever confronting them. After you clear stage 3, things should begin to fall into a rhythm. Enter the stage, locate and activate the new altar with the help of the wiki, clear the teleporter, pick up the free legendaries. With Dio's best friend for insurance, you'll be able to breathe a little bit easier. After we've set up some minor fortifications against our death, we're going to full send a good offense is the best defense. Our enemies won't be able to damage us if they're not alive. To this end, we'll recruit a power team of Lensmaker's Glasses, ATG Missile, Ukulele, ICBM, 57 Leaf Clover, Meat Hook, Laser Scopes, and Wake of Vultures. In case you don't know how proc chains work, I'll give you the Spark Notes version. These items activate all of your other items and each other, but never themselves. This makes finite chains of activations. These items activate when you kill an enemy and count as a separate chain. This allows us to link our chains together in a circle shape, as long as there are enemies to kill. We want this because it means we can kill a lot of things with just a single bullet. Because our items activate themselves in circular chains and autonomously seek and kill enemies, our foes are usually dead before we even get to look at them. By stage 4, the boss monsters and the teleporter are trivial. We have plenty of damage of every variety. Now your job is to make sure you're staying out of trouble. You're going to feel like God himself, but you're still very, very fragile. Things can go wrong. At this point, the run isn't nearly as difficult, but you still need to be 100% locked in. It takes focus to close out this run cleanly. Stage 4 of this run is actually where I accidentally discovered a really abusable technique. When you change stages, your clones don't come with you. This means that if you start the teleporter a few moments before your clones spawn, you can vacate the teleporter and disappear after they spawn. Stage 5 proceeds exactly the same as Stage 4. Every creature is dust underneath your gaze. Usually I don't go for Mithrix on Stage 5. It's definitely possible. I probably could have done it on this run, but it's risky. Instead, I chose to loop and tackle Mithrix with more items. Stage 6 is identical, you get the idea. Stage 7 is the same. Some general tips for completing this challenge. You need to know exactly where in the command menus your items are, because you need them to survive, but picking them up makes you ridiculously vulnerable. This is mostly a problem in the early stages, but it can be difficult later on as well. Notice how I opt to hover over the chaos of dead monsters instead of running around inside of it. Artifact of Kin allows you to utilize your enemy's weaknesses very effectively because there is no diversity in their abilities. For example, against melee units, you can sometimes find an elevated place to stand on where they can't spawn and you can shoot them from above. Never stop running on stage 1 except to pick up an item you're willing to risk dying for. Speed is your friend. The vast majority of damage in the game can be avoided by simply not being where you were a moment ago. There's not much to explain at this point. I choose to take on the Void instead of Mithrix to show you exactly how strong this build is. In the initial void stage, there are tons of items to pick up. Because of the timing I chose, I'm not able to avoid my clones on this stage, but it's fine because the anti-clone measures are still well in place. They can't spam Strides of Heresy the way I can, and both clones are overwhelmed by daggers and by missiles, which kill both of them twice. Voidling fight. Things get really messy here because Strides of Heresy doesn't protect us from the Void Fog, and I actually end up dying again. Fortunately, the second Dio Bear of this run has us covered and we're able to finally close it out.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
We completed the Void ending on Monsoon with all artifacts enabled in just over an hour. Hey guys, Sauce here. This video took me so long to make. I mean, they all do, but like, come on. I hope you guys have a great week. Bye. Love you guys. Stay safe.